Benjamin Impossible. Chapter 8. Shark Bait. "Whoa!" Benjamin exclaimed. "This is a trap left behind to stop anyone following the robot thieves. Time to get out of here fast!" Benjamin slapped the hyperhelium button on his ninja suit, expecting to shoot to the surface and fly out of the water into the safety of the sky above. Unfortunately, nothing happened. Benjamin hit the button again in desperation. The salt water must have jammed his hyperhelium supply tank. Without levitating gas to refill his ninja suit, he couldn't fly to safety. "Oh, donkey farts," Benjamin thought, watching the Sharkpedo pick up speed and charge right at him. On the very tip of the robot's nose, Benjamin could see the red blinking button he had pushed. He considered hitting the button again when the shark got close, but suspected that this would cause the Sharkpedo to explode like a real torpedo. He was going to be fish food for sure. The shark accelerated toward him. Right before it struck, Benjamin twisted his body violently to the side. The robot charged past and missed, but one of the metal fins sliced into his hip, and Benjamin doubled over in the water in agony. "I'm running out of oxygen," Benjamin thought to himself as he turned to look at the circling Sharkpedo. "I need to put this crazy robot out of action fast." He pulled out his gas blaster and cycled through his available ammunition. Fart gas, itching powder, superglue, skunk juice, and squid ink. "Aha!" Benjamin cried out, selecting the squid ink. He pointed the gun at the approaching robot. "It's lights out for you, dork!" The gas blaster burped, and the ball of giant squid ink shot out at high velocity. Unfortunately, the ball only traveled 12 inches before it stopped dead, a black ball floating motionless in the water before him. "Nuts! I guess you can't shoot guns underwater," Benjamin thought. "Water viscosity slows down my ammunition too much. My balls have failed me again." The Sharkpedo sped up, looming closer, its robotic eyes locked on the helpless boy. Desperately, Benjamin reached out and snatched the floating ink ball in his hand. With all his strength, he squeezed his fist, and the ball of squid ink popped open. Black ink spread outward in the water, enveloping Benjamin in a cloud of darkness. The robotic Sharkpedo, unable to see the boy in this obscuring cloud, missed and swam past him without detonating. Benjamin's lungs burned, and he knew he had to get to the surface soon or he'd drown. He swam upward, but the squid ink confused him, and he wasn't sure if he was swimming in the right direction. Just then, the hyperhelium tank in his ninja suit decided to start working again. Benjamin heard a hissing sound, and he began to float to the surface. "Thank goodness! I'm out of here!" To Benjamin's dismay, however, the suit malfunctioned again. Instead of his entire outfit inflating, only his bottom was expanding. He burst up through the water, butt first, hanging a few feet over the ocean. He gulped in a few breaths of air and looked around. The red Zeppelin floated a few hundred feet away, and on the shore, he could see hundreds of people in bathing suits. They were all looking at him, taking pictures. "How embarrassing," Benjamin groaned. The bottom of his ninja suit kept expanding until it looked like someone had stuffed 2 basketballs down the back of his pants. "Frap!" His butt exploded as the seams gave out and the hyperhelium escaped into the air. It was the biggest and most expensive fart in the history of the world. The crowd laughed as Benjamin crashed back down into the water, splashing wildly. He looked around for the Sharkpedo and spotted it, approaching fast. He was a goner now. Something floated by and Benjamin grabbed it in a panic. It was the long plastic snuba tube that he had disconnected earlier. The other end was still attached to Noah. Benjamin gripped the long air tube and yelled, "Noah, go, go, go!" The robotic dog rose, dripping seawater, and took off flying upward. The dog wasn't strong enough to pull the boy entirely out of the water, so it dragged Benjamin along the surface of the waves instead. Benjamin held on to the breathing tube for dear life, coughing as salt water splashed into his face. He looked back and saw the Sharkpedo swimming right behind him, its metal body a few feet underwater. "Faster, Noah, faster! Maximum speed!" The turbojets on the robotic dog spun up, and with a roar, the dog rocketed away, flying over the water and dragging Benjamin behind by the snuba tube. Benjamin could barely hold on as the robotic dog dragged him across the surf. The boy flipped his body, trying to get his feet underneath, and he suddenly found himself water skiing on his bare feet. "Right on!" Benjamin yelled. The crowd on the beach, who had been watching with interest, jumped up and down, cheering. They thought Benjamin was putting on a water show for them, unaware that a killer robot was chasing the boy. Benjamin rocketed by the red Zeppelin. He could see his family watching and waving. They didn't see the killer robot either. Unfortunately, the radio communicator in his diving helmet was ruined, and he couldn't use his wrist communicator without letting go of his lifeline. He had to yell to be heard. "There is a shark behind me!" he screamed as he flew past the boat. "What did he say?" Papa Impossible asked his wife. Noah's motors were loud when he flew past, and they could barely hear the boy. "I think he said that he likes to water ski," his mother answered. "The little rapscallion. I guess he got bored with the underwater investigation and decided to have some fun." "I can see his underwear," Charlie pointed as he snapped a picture with his cell phone. Benjamin water-skied by the red Zeppelin again and yelled out, "Get out of the water! Take off! Take off!" Papa cupped a hand to one ear. "What was that? I'm afraid I missed it again." Charlie blinked. "I think he said, 'Dance off, dance off.'" Captain Lemontime looked down at Charlie. "Why would he want us to dance?" Charlie shrugged. "Who knows, Mr. Lemontime? Why is he water-skiing right now? Benjamin's motivations don't always make sense, but he is rarely wrong. Perhaps this is a good time to dance." The toddler walked over to the airship's cockpit and hit a button, activating the red Zeppelin's disco mode. Giant speakers lifted from under the boat deck and colorful lights shot out from the handrails. A disco ball lowered from the rigging above and began to turn. The boat had transformed into a floating nightclub, complete with a fog machine that covered the deck of the ship with funky blue smoke. The people on the shore cheered and began to dance to the music that pumped out of the boat's loudspeakers. Benjamin, still water-skiing for his life, smacked one palm against his forehead and screamed in frustration. Captain Lemontime, who didn't like dancing, picked up a pair of binoculars and zoomed in on Benjamin as he raced past. The Air Force captain walked over to Papa Impossible, who was now line dancing with his wife, and tapped his shoulder. "Professor, your oldest child appears to have a torpedo chasing him." "Yes," Papa Impossible agreed, as he performed the electric slide. "He is a driven young man with a lot of ambition, very energetic as well. I was the same way as a boy." "No," the Air Force captain said. "I mean, there appears to be a killer robotic torpedo in the water chasing him. It might explode any minute." Papa Impossible stopped dancing and ran over to the boat railing to look. The shark-pedo could be seen under the water, and it appeared to be catching up to the boy. Benjamin flew past again, screaming, "Up! Go up, you knuckleheads!" The professor ran to the control panel and pulled a lever. The boat anchor rose out of the water, and the hyperhelium balloon above vibrated as more levitating gas injected into it. The red Zeppelin started to rise out of the water. Benjamin, relief in his voice, yelled out to his dog, "Noah, go home, boy! Go home!" The dog turned and headed toward the rising ship. Benjamin held on tight and at the last minute jumped, grabbing the dangling anchor as the boat shot upward into the air. His fingers almost slipped, but he squeezed tight on the metal chain, and the ship pulled him up into the sky. A few moments later, the shark-pedo exploded, and a torrent of water shot upward from the ocean, covering Benjamin with seawater and dead fish guts. The red Zeppelin drifted away into the sky as the weary young boy climbed over the edge of the railing and collapsed on the ship's deck, wet and exhausted. "Turn that dance music off," he groaned. This is the end of Chapter 8. If you are enjoying this story, leave a comment below and subscribe. Then, continue on to Chapter 9. The Enemy Has a Name.